What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much jumping on to the first ever episode of the Steelers Collective. I'm Noah Strackbein, joined by my world famous co-hosts Mark Kaboly and Ray Fittipaldo. We come to you live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time here at youtube.com/Steelers Collective, breaking down everything Pittsburgh Steelers, and we are thrilled to launch this with you guys, and the timing is perfect. Aaron Rodgers returns, and so do the boys. Mark, Ray, I'm thrilled to be here. I hope you are too. How you feeling, my friends?
Who would have ever thought us three getting together and doing this? Hey, we've been doing this. We all been doing this a long time, and think about 20 years ago, this would be unheard of. But I am looking forward to it.
It's very true. Ray, how you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, better late than never, and first of hopefully many shows that we do. Like you said, Noah, perfect timing. OTA starting this week. Lots of news. We're going to be talking about quarterback stuff, offensive line stuff. It's a really good time to get this going.
It is very true, and I think that's the perfect way to launch into this conversation. The man, the mysterious, as Alex Highsmith would call him, Aaron Rodgers, returns to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 1-year, $22 to $23 million deal, upwards of $25 million. He comes back for his second season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. His not first season with Mike McCarthy, but his first season in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy. I'll ask you guys to kick this thing off. I mean, Mark, you made that date known, I think, I don't know, January 1st, maybe somewhere around that timeline. But we all expected it to happen. It is now official. What were your guys' thoughts on Aaron returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh, I think it's a perfect a perfect match for the team. I think he's a very polarizing player when it comes to, Pittsburgh quarterback. And I mean, that's safe to say, right? But if you break it down and just look at it, he gives them the best chance to win this year. And people probably complain, what is winning? And well, winning is 10 games. 10 games is not a bad season. But to be able to bring him back, and you already invested so much into the offseason with the Pittmans, the Deans, the Dowdles, and bringing in a whole new coaching staff, trying to get these younger quarterbacks up to speed. Who else? It just seems like a perfect fit to me. Now, I don't know what you guys think. I don't think he's played as bad as some people like to believe that he played last year.
No, I mean, listen, he was a winning player for them. I thought late in the season, Mark, that, some of the issues with the mobility came up and, specifically that Texans game. But listen, the Texans, you can argue the Texans have the NFL's best defense.
Yeah,
back then and coming into this season. So I don't know if we should judge him just on that one game. But here's how I look at it. It was supposed to be a one and done with Aaron Rodgers. They were supposed to go ahead and draft a quarterback this year, but they can't control what happens in college football, right? This was a bad year for college quarterbacks coming out. And I'm sorry, you look at the free agent class, the guys who are available in trades. If I had to choose between Aaron Rodgers, Malik Willis, and Kyler Murray, those are probably the two biggest names out there. I'm picking Aaron Rodgers 100% of the time. I'm sorry. You can talk about those guys being younger. Maybe you take a chance on them. But to me, Rodgers, I agree with Mark. Rodgers was the best option after the season, and he remains the best option going into the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think the contract, when you compare it to Malik Willis, everybody wants to make that a negative. To me, I mean, $25 million is not overpaying for Aaron Rodgers. It is an expensive contract for a guy that, you have to win with $25 million. I think to me, that's what it comes down to, is you can't lose a wild card round and have the performance that you had against the Texans overall and pay $25 million and justify it. But you can make that to the case for Mike McCarthy and hiring 24 coaches and, a bunch of other things. Comparing it to Malik Willis doesn't matter, because I don't think Malik Willis is a better option than what Aaron Rodgers is. But I guess that's, where this goes is, what are the expectations? Like, where do the Steelers sit right now? Are they still win the AFC North and hope to win a wild card team? You could take it back. I just made this comparison earlier. in 2007, Mike McCarthy's second year with Green Bay, he convinced Brett Favre to come back during OTAs. They went to the NFC Championship, and Brett Favre was a finalist for MVP. Like, is that what we're in the midst of right now? Is that what the Steelers are looking to do? What are your guys' expectations for the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers? Do they change at all from what they were a year ago?
I would expect that. I mean, that might be a little bit pushing it a little bit, MVP. But what we're saying is it's capable because just my point of view is definitely the coaching staff. We like to put things into a box saying, well, this is how they used to be. It's a whole new staff. We don't know what this staff could do. On paper, it looks like it could be a lot better than what it used to be. And maybe they can get more out of the defense. Maybe they can get more out of the offense. That's why I'm intrigued by it. I give it a 1 year, basic trial, right? If it doesn't work this year, then you move on. I mean, regardless, you probably move on from Aaron Rodgers. You move on from maybe some defensive guys. I don't want to say the guy's name. TJ Watt or somebody like that. But I give it a 1 year whirl, man, because anything can happen. Because I'm just intrigued by the coaching staff and some of the players they got on defense and how this could potentially come together. Now, if you look at Mike McCarthy's history there, Noah, those first years in Dallas, Ray, those first years in Green Bay were not good seasons. Then he followed up the next season with 13 wins. So,
wow.
That.
Okay, so
drop a little nugget in there.
What happens there though? Like if the Steelers struggle this season with Aaron, you're not going to succeed next season. Who's going to be your starting quarterback? Will Howard, Drew Aller, a first-round rookie? Like, I mean, those guys don't win Super Bowls. I mean, unless Drew Aller or Will Howard just suddenly explode into, and we'll talk that later, like successful quarterbacks. But you don't win Super Bowls with rookies. So do you go into the season with like just tempered expectations and then just hope for something more? Again, you're paying the guy $25 million. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. You convinced a 42-year-old to come back.
Ray, you covered the team in 2005.
Yeah.
There was a second-year quarterback that won the Super Bowl that year.
That is true.
Drew Aller's that guy, but
I mean, to Noah's point, there has only been one quarterback who was 43 years old to win a Super Bowl, and that was Tom Brady. So it's not like guys who are in their mid-40s are going around and competing for championships either. My whole premise with this, I'm fine letting it play out this year. But at some point, Noah, you have to find out about Will Howard. We've heard ad nauseum about how much potential they think he has. It's fine. He didn't play last year. He was injured. I get it. But this summer should be all about developing him, getting him ready to be the backup. So if there is an injury, they could take an extended look at him. You develop Drew Aller behind him. And then by January, by the time the season's over, you have to have a pretty good picture of what you have in that quarterback room. And then you got to make the decision, okay, do we got to make a big move up in the draft? Are there 5 or 6 first-round quarterbacks in the 27 class like we've been hearing about now? I know people don't want to, talk about that because of what happened with this year's class, but this 27 class is supposed to be really good. So they do have to figure this out, I think, within the next 7 to 8 months. I think Omar Khan would be smart to know where his team is, know where his quarterback's room is by the end of the season in January so he can make the appropriate planning for the draft.
Well, speaking of that, Will Howard takes QB2 reps on Monday. Obviously, things could change. We could come back tomorrow and Mason could be QB2 or Drew Aller could be QB2, although nobody's expecting that to happen. I agree with you, Ray. I think you have to see you have to put everything you possibly can into Will Howard this season or this summer to see what you have in that kid, especially because yesterday was the beginning of it. Yesterday was the first time that I believed Mike McCarthy, because before that, maybe it was the last 19 years of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the fact that every time the head coach spoke, you had to look at it and go, chances are you just lied. I did not believe anything Mike McCarthy said when it came to Will up until Will took QB2 reps to start practice yesterday. I mean, is it his job to? It's got to be his job to lose, right? You can't revert back.
Let's hope tomorrow, when practice is allegedly open, that he still gets those QB2 reps, almost QB 1.5, because you really don't want Rodgers in there that much. But we know Rodgers is a maniac and wants to be out there. I mean, I think we know what Mason can do, and I think Mason's perfect for the job. And I still think he makes the team, but I think you do got to give Will Howard the most reps possible while trying to develop Drew Aller. And to your point, Ray, if you get to January, and even if you have a decision made positively on Howard or Aller, I'm taking a quarterback. I'm throwing it all against the wall. I don't care. Give me
Really?
3 first rounders. I don't care.
I agree with that. I am too.
See, but if they are convinced, and Mike McCarthy is a quarterback's guy, if he has a firm read that Will Howard is the guy, Mark, I would be surprised if they made a big move up and took a quarterback. Now, listen, they could finish like in 16 to 18 to 20, and maybe one of those guys slips. Maybe they don't have to move up. Yeah, I would be fine with that. But in terms of making a big move, if he has his mind made up that Will Howard is the guy, I would be surprised if they did that.
I don't know. I mean, is there enough room though? I don't know. How are you going to keep 4 guys on there? Like I said, I think Mason's important to what you're doing this year, because if you're going all in on winning this year, you better have somebody who can fill in for a game or two. I don't know what you do with Will Howard, because Drew Aller's making the team.
Why can't Will Howard be the backup though?
I was going to say, what if Will Howard shows that he's capable of playing a game or two? All he's got to do is look just as good as Mason. He doesn't have to look better than him.
You really think that's going to happen over the next 4 months? I don't.
I don't know.
But you want to keep Will Howard to see if you can develop him. This could be that year, which I probably don't agree with, that you might have to keep 4. I don't know how you do that, but unusual circumstances.
I mean, I looked it up. I forget what year. Somebody can fact check me on this, but when McCarthy was with the Packers, I want to say it was like 2010, 2012, somewhere in that range. He took Brian Braum in the 2nd round. He took Matt Flynn in the 7th round. And by the end of that rookie training camp, they didn't cut Braum, but they kind of put him to the side. And Matt Flynn was the backup, a 7th round pick. Matt Flynn was his backup. So Mike McCarthy has gotten guys ready in a short period of time to be a backup quarterback. And I just wouldn't pass it off as, you got to have Mason because he's a vet. I think the way they feel about it, with as much lip service as they've paid to Will Howard, having all this potential, to me, you have to give him every opportunity to win the backup job. Otherwise, you were just speaking into the wind, and that was a whole big, fabrication for the last 6 months.
Well, Ray, let me ask this. What do you have to see out of him? What do you have to see out of Will this summer to say you're the backup?
Well, I think what we saw last year before he got hurt, he had great command of the huddle. He knew the offense. So that doesn't mean anything now because it's a new offense. But as long as he's learning in a similar way and he knows this offense too, what I want to see is, can he make the throws? How is his accuracy? That was a big knock on him coming out of Ohio State. One of the reasons he fell to the 6th round. Can he put the ball where it has to be on a consistent basis? So to me, it's all about reps. Stay healthy, play in the preseason games. If he shows that he could do that in the preseason games, I would not be against him being the backup. I would actually be in favor of it, because eventually, guys, you have to turn the page and go from Aaron and Mason and all these guys who have played for you before. You have to turn the page and see what can happen. Listen, you might be 5-12, you might be 12-5, you might surprise yourself. Either way, I think it's better than being 9-8, 10-7, and getting your doors blown off in the playoffs.
I don't disagree. You look like you got something to say, Mark.
Well, I'm just saying, I just would have loved to see Will Howard get some preseason snaps last year.
Yes.
That was huge. Not only that is, he came back in October, mid-October, late October, and they like to give you a line of BS about, wow, he looked good in practice. We saw what he did in practice. Take about 3 or 4 snaps and worked afterwards with Roman Wilson, and Adam Thielen, right? I mean, you can glean nothing off of what you saw from him last year other than the first week of camp. I think preseason's huge, absolutely huge for a guy like Will Howard. He has to, because you can't judge his intangibles by seeing how he makes throws and how his footwork is and how he gets in and out of the huddle, and that's his strength.
So, last question I got for you guys on this backup quarterback job: is there any world where Drew Aller makes a case to be QB2? in either of your heads?
Not this year. I mean, I think the guy has potential, but I know Mark was at rookie minicamp too. I mean, we all saw it. I'm not going to call him a project, but they are tearing him down to build him back up, and I think it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to have him be ready for any of this. I mean, that's fine though. I mean, you can go through the history of the NFL, not even recent history, and see guys who sat first year and turned out to be pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to compare him to Pat Mahomes or anything like that, but you got a handful of guys that sat out. I mean, Jordan Love. I mean, he was late first rounder. Still, I mean, these are guys that sat behind veterans, then was able to step in that second year and be successful. So I think that would be the plan.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, let's talk some offensive line here. The Steelers made some pretty massive changes. Troy Fautanu moves to left tackle. Mason McCormick moves to left guard. Spencer Anderson is the right guard right now, and Dylan Cook is the right tackle. I mean, we'll start with the changes up front. I think we eventually have to talk about Rodgers Jones at the same time, though. Ray, I'm going to kick it off with you here, though, because you have talked a lot this offseason about Troy playing guard. He said yesterday he doesn't want to. I kind of feel like you feel differently here.
Now, he wants no parts of it, but, you keep hearing it. And the reason he doesn't want to do that, obviously, is left tackles make a lot more money than left guards. But it's something that has been discussed within that building. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen now. Troy's kind of made his feelings known. They drafted Jennings Dunker. I think they have a pretty good plan now. I don't know all this stuff with the guards flip-flopping. I don't know how that's going to play out. But to me, right now, I think Troy is almost 100% certain to go to left, just because rookie Maxi Onachor only played right at Arizona State. And I think you have Dylan Cook, who's a good swing tackle. He could play on the right side. You set it up so Dylan Cook can start. Max is going to push him. And then you put your best offensive lineman as Aaron Rodgers' blindside protector. I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing I don't want to see, is flip-flopping every other week. If you're going to make a commitment to Fautanu to left tackle, make a commitment. I don't want to see, 3 weeks into training camp, you say, I got to move him back to right because we need Dylan Cook at left. Just go with your gut, Fautanu, McCormick, Frazier, then see how it works out on the right side. If it's Anderson, if it's Dunker, if it's Hoffman, if it's Cook, if it's, I don't even know, Rodgers Jones, I don't think they're moving back to right. I don't know where he fits in right now, but keep it as tight as you can, because we know when you start flipping guys midseason, that becomes an issue. So, that's what I think they do. If they continue to do this, I mean, we saw 25 minutes of walkthrough.
Yeah, that's very true.
So we're basing a lot off of that, but it seems like that's the case.
I agree with that. I think it's the first time they're looking forward in a long time. It kind of felt like with the offensive line, it was, these are the pieces we have. How do they best fit? We'll worry about the later pieces later. And now it's, here are the pieces we have, but here are the pieces we're going to have. How do we make this thing work collectively, now and later, which works. And that's, in my head, a way better plan.
I mean, listen, it's a new coaching staff, and we really have to keep that in the front of our minds. I mean, they're trying to get to know these guys. They've had conversations with all these guys. I remember talking to Spencer Anderson in training camp last year. He could not understand why he wasn't getting any reps at right guard the last couple of years. He felt like he was better at right guard than left guard. And then if you look at it, Mason McCormick played left guard exclusively at South Dakota State. The only time he ever played right guard was when he got to Pittsburgh. So maybe they're having these conversations behind the scenes. Maybe they're talking to these guys, and these guys say, hey, I can go over and play on that side. I actually feel really good over there. And so maybe they're just taking a look at things here for the next month or so, through minicamp and the final week of OTAs. And I agree with Mark. Once you get to training camp, things got to be not 100% set, but they got to be pretty firm. You got to have a good idea going into Latrobe of what you want to do up front, because doing the whole musical chairs thing in July and August, I don't think that's going to work out.
No, I agree. When it comes to Broderick, at least this is just me. I took this change for Troy as really the end of Broderick Jones in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think you can get rid of him. I mean, he's
no, I don't think he's going to get rid of, but I don't think he's going to be ready for the season.
No.
And I think the Steelers are preparing as if that's going to be the case.
Well, that's smart. I mean, they know more than us and probably leading on more than us of how difficult of a coming back it is from that injury or that surgery that he had. So I think the offensive line, I mean, that's crazy that you got a 14th overall pick and you don't really need him right now. It doesn't seem like they really need him. Where I'm really, if I was a Steelers fan, be excited about is this offensive line coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a stud James Campen, who they all love. Then you got a finalist at Hall of Fame being your guard, or I would assume your interior guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's significant, I think, to be able to get these guys quickly assimilated to the pro game and take it to the next step. You remember the last couple of years, awful starts to the season for the offensive line.
Yeah.
They can't afford that this year.
No, I agree with you. I really like this offensive line staff, and they got the tools to work with. I mean, they've spent plenty of draft resources, compiling these guys. It's time, finally, I think, for it to come together. And it's really important when you have a 42-year-old quarterback who's going on 43. We all know that he's not going to run around and make plays like he used to. To me, you're not going to be a successful offense if he's like 1.5, 2 seconds, the ball's out like it was last year, right? Like they made that adjustment after the Jets game, after he got hit like 8 or 10 times in that game.
Yeah.
And they never really got back to saying, okay, we really do trust our offensive line. To me, this is a big training camp for the offensive line too. We talked about the quarterbacks. Huge training camp for the offensive line. They got to show that they could sit there and pass protect and not have all these gimmicks about getting the ball out early and, everything being the short game. You're not going to be an explosive offense if you can't push the ball down the field. And in order to do that, you got to have the time to do it.
Yeah. But it seems like I don't know about you guys, but it seems like to me they're setting up their offense to be more of a power running game than wanting to throw the ball down the field. Maybe take shots. It seems like everybody they brought in, their tight ends and their wide receivers and their big running backs, they want to run the ball. They want to run the ball with power and physicality.
What did Fautano say yesterday? It's a lot like Washington. We pass the ball a lot. So.
Yeah, and Michael Pittman said that too. I came here and the offenses we're going to throw the football a lot. I was like, well, Darnell Washington, DK Metcalf, and you lined up next to each other doesn't tell me that you're going to throw the football a lot. That's just not – that doesn't – I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But, I mean, at the same time, like Aaron doesn't have – and I don't want this to be taken as like Aaron doesn't have a great arm. Aaron's got the craziest arm I've ever seen in person. But Aaron doesn't have the arm that he once had. So maybe it makes sense to have a run and maybe not a run and gun, but like that West Coast style offense with a really power run heavy scheme behind it. I feel like that's kind of the mix they're looking for. So we'll see. Let's move it to the defensive side of the football here. Peyton Wilson made it known that Patrick Graham and his identity that he's bringing to the Steelers defense is the steel curtain. That's what he wants to do. And I mean, I wasn't there today. You guys were there today when the coordinators talked. Patrick Graham, I saw it, his speech about, having the logo on his chest and how wonderful the game's been to him. The dude brings passion to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for sure. Is it going to translate to the field? We'll see. What's your confidence level in a new defense? And not just Patrick Graham, a completely new defensive staff that has some big names within it, to kind of revamp a group that literally a year ago at this time, if you talked about the Steelers defense, it was supposed to be crazy. It was loaded to the gills. It was going to carry this team. Aaron was coming here not to be a savior, but just to be the quarterback for a defensive dominant team. That did not happen at all during the season. The defense struggled mightily to start the year. Does that change this year?
No. If Patrick Graham might regret the words that he says, still curtain, because in the city we like to bring things up and we still talk about unleash hell in December, right? Yeah. So if this doesn't turn out well, the punchline to many, many jokes. But maybe it should be Blitzburg. I wonder if anybody on this team actually even remembers the steel curtain. To be honest with you, we're talking about the 70s now, but we get the point here. They just want to be a physical team here. And they have, I mean, it's hard to imagine just the sheer talent. If any team, they have to be a top 10 team in just talent alone on the defensive side of the ball. But that's proven in the past that that's not necessarily results in good play. There has to be, and I think you wrote about that, Ray, about you have to have some good communication. They've had some bad communication over the past couple of years. If Patrick Graham's be able to streamline all this stuff, they have the talent. They do have the talent. The question is can it be produced on the field? I guess that's why we play the games, right? I don't know yet. I don't know.
That's the most interesting thing that I've heard the first 2 days is the communication issues. And it's such an interesting dynamic because you have Cam Hayward, who is still playing at a high level. Even though TJ Watt is coming off a down season for him, he's still a really good edge rusher. I would still put him, even the year he had last year, I still think he was a top 10 edge rusher. Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, there was real pedigree with their defense. And I just think what I kind of read into Peyton Wilson's comments on Monday, Alex Highsmith's comments, just the way that Patrick Graham is really being a taskmaster with the verbiage, and you better get the call right. If you don't get the call right, you're going to get called out. I mean, they're hammering that communication stuff. What if it is as simple as their communication is better and they're going to be a much better defense? Is that the answer? Because for the last 5 years, guys, it's been the same old story. I don't care who we're talking about, whether Patrick Queen is the quarterback of the defense or whoever it was before him. There have just been all kinds of issues with guys getting lined up right. You know, Minka Fitzpatrick, all the, sort of infighting that went on there. If it's as simple as Mike Tomlin just didn't have a good handle on that and Patrick Graham does, maybe you go from being like the 27th best defense in terms of yards allowed. Maybe you go up to like 18 or 20, and maybe you're still a good turnover team, and that pushes you up. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I have been really encouraged by what I've been hearing them talking about it. But like Mark said, let's see you do it on the field too, right? I mean, that's the most important thing.
No, I agree. And I think it's the first time, just like you said, but just to reiterate it, like this is the first time, at least in the last couple of years, where it's not just calling out the miscommunication, because that's what we've constantly heard is, oh, it's miscommunication. We have to be better at the communication. We have to be better at it. But there was no solution being brought up almost at all. And it kind of feels like that's the agenda right now, is to fix that. Plus, if anybody's going to fix it, if anybody's going to bring, going to get a group together communication wise, it's going to be the guy that graduated from Yale. It's going to be the dude who's able to put that together and bring that group to one. Do you expect, you brought up TJ, and I know this is about the identity, but I think people want to know, do you expect a bounce back from TJ? Do you guys expect that this year?
I do. I still think he's very, very talented. I think even if he did lose a half a step, I think he had a half a step to lose. But I think more now is he's just not going to be able to line up and just dominate on, the right side. If they want to move him, they got to put him in favorable situations to be able to maximize his potential. And for some reason, that hasn't happened in the past 3 or 4 years. Let's hope that Patrick Graham sees that. What I do like too is about Patrick Graham is he's one voice. He doesn't have the head coach looking over his shoulder and say, no, we're going to do this, and that. I think that might be help in the long run here, that is the guy coordinating the defense, putting it together, and making the calls.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Terrell Austin was a great guy. He'd come in every week and it'd spin the stories, but you always kind of wondered, okay, what's really going on? Is he actually putting the game plan together? Is he actually calling the plays on Sundays or, whatever day they're playing on? Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. And that was kind of the big mystery. We all kind of know in the end it was Mike Tomlin's defense, and now it's kind of nice. Like Mike McCarthy just kind of hands Patrick Graham ownership of that entire unit, and it's going to be fun to see what he could do. Like I I love the Belichick background. Like you could talk about,
Yes,
New England and Spygate and all that other stuff, but Bill Belichick was a details guy. And if this Steelers defense needs something, they need to be on the same page and, everything that Patrick Graham was talking about. So people kind of get lost. Oh, he was with the Giants. They weren't that good. Oh, he was with the Raiders. The Raiders weren't that good. If you're taking a big picture of this, you kind of have to know who the guy is, what situations he was in. I'm really excited about Patrick Graham and, what he might be able to do with his defense. And a lot of that, like I said, has to do with the talent that the front office has assembled. It's still a very good, even though it's an aging, it's still a very good defensive unit, I think.
I agree. I
think
definitely
it brings
agree.
us back to the beginning here, too, of how the staff is so much different right now that it should give you a little bit of intrigue of why there might be trying to go for it for one last year here and why you bring back Aaron Rodgers. I'm extremely intrigued by this coaching staff. I might end up being proven wrong, but right now, I saw the Mike Tomlin staff for 19 years. Trust me. I've seen it. So this one seems head and shoulders above, but until somebody pulls it back on me and says, hey, you said this defense was going to be better because the coaching staff's better. I'm like, we'll see. But I do like the coaching staff. And I think people are glossing over that way too quickly.
No, I agree. People complain forever about how small the coaching staff was. The one thing you can't complain about right now is the coaching staff. They put it together. They brought, maybe it's Yinzer Central, but it's a staff that fills every hole, and they made sure no stone went unturned, and we're all going to find out together. All right, before we start answering everybody's questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. We got to give a quick word, and Kaboly and Ray, you got to get in here with me, to our boys over at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app and the best place to win cash while watching sports. It's easy. Just pick your players, set your lineups, and watch. Right now, we got two big ones. Aaron Rodgers on the season, over 19.5 passing touchdowns, and Michael Pittman Jr. over 774.5 receiving yards. How are we feeling about this one, guys?
Oh, that's a slam dunk. That's money in the bank. Go for it. 19 touchdowns?
19.5
touchdowns.
touchdowns.
Unless the guy gets banged up, which you can't assume that he's not going to. If he's played 16 games, I think both of those. I think Michael Pittman is actually getting a little bit overlooked a little bit here, how good he has been the past, if over his entire career. Those numbers seem like overs to me right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love the over 19.5 for Rodgers. I mean, he had 24 last year. I mean, Mark is right. He only missed one game due to injury. But I love that number. I think the 774 is a really good number. Like, that is, like, if you think Metcalf was right around 1,000, a little bit under 1,000 last year. He missed those 2 games. So if you think he's going to be 1,100 or so, then Pittman's probably going to be right there around 700 or 800. That's actually a really good number. But I really do like the over 19.5 for Rodgers.
Same. Prize Picks operates in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida, using our promo code HMA or by clicking the link below. New users who play $5 get $50 in lineups. Just download the app using the promo code and the link. Shout out to our boys over at Prize Picks. All right, we're going to start answering all your guys' questions. So toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. First off, hit that like and subscribe button as we get going. We're trying to get this thing to 1,000 subscribers because, I think that's benchmark 1. That's when you become legit, I feel like, in the YouTube world. Kaboly knows. And then we'll go from there. We'll get things kicking with Maddie. I know Noah's answer. What are your thoughts on Howard and Aller and their future outlook?
Wow. I'll let Ray take this one first.
Yeah, listen, I'm intrigued by Howard because they are intrigued by him. And I liked what I saw last season. And I touched on it a little bit, that his command of the huddle, just his, he had almost a veteran presence as a rookie. And I was really impressed by that. So I am intrigued by that. Having said that, Drew Aller is your prototypical pocket passer in the NFL, what the NFL was like 20 years ago, right? Like I don't want to compare him to Big Ben, but he is that type of a figure in the pocket. He's got a great deep ball. Can they fix him? Really unfortunate situation at Penn State, I thought, for him. I don't think he got good coaching there. Can you break him down? Can you build him back up? And can you make something of him? I do think he has more talent than Will Howard, but that doesn't mean everything. I think Will Howard has some of the intangibles on Aller, and he might end up being the better player. But to answer the question, I am very intrigued by both of those guys and what they can do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Aller, I think first of all, I don't know if Howard's going to actually get a fighting chance, a fair chance. I mean, you do have a coaching staff that drafted Drew Aller. And if Mike McCarthy was brought in here, as we all know, is to find that next quarterback, and he come in with a resume of turning, average, not average, maybe average, above average quarterbacks into winning quarterbacks, this is perfect. 6'5", big hands, big arm. Now let's see if the quarterback whisperer can fix him. So if you're choosing between Aller and Howard, I'm giving Aller the better chance as of right now, just because of his physical tools.
I agree because of physical tools, but you also mentioned the hand picked from McCarthy. Does that count even with how much McCarthy has talked about Howard? Because he hasn't talked about a single human more than he's talked about Will Howard, and how much he would have drafted him in the first round, first overall, if you asked Mike McCarthy 2 years ago.
Well, Ray brought up the Matt Flynn thing, so maybe you're wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe he goes for the 6th rounder over the 3rd rounder. But if I'm investing a 4th overall pick, 76 quarterback, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt over number 185 and the other staff. That's just me. That just seems like human nature to me.
Yeah, but I'm with Noah on this one. Like, we know the front office really like Will Howard too, because they drafted him. But for Mike McCarthy to almost say that on day one, I mean, didn't he say that in his introductory news conference? How much?
Will Hyde. I really like Will Hyde.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird because he's not the only like old school coach, West Coast offense coach, who has said stuff like that. I mean, John Gruden, right? I mean, the guy who also won a Super Bowl in this league, very high on him. So I'm a little bit more intrigued than Mark is. I want to see how this plays out. And I do think because Aller is in a different stage of his development, this is really, really an important summer for Will Howard. Like, if he somehow doesn't take advantage of these reps, or he doesn't play well in the preseason, then maybe I would have a different feeling. But if he comes out and plays well and, everything is as advertised, then I think the hype is only going to grow from there.
I agree. Poke Salad, can Rodgers, quote unquote, give his snaps to another quarterback during practice, even if he's there? I mean,
he doesn't want to, right?
I was going to say he doesn't want to, but I would not be surprised if what we saw Monday didn't last past what we saw Monday. He took snaps and then spent the rest of the day talking to Mike.
Yeah, when they went to team, he just backed out a little bit. That's what he did in minicamp last year, right? Tomlin said, we don't want him out there, but he did take a lot of reps. Look at him during the regular season. How many practices did he miss?
Which is nuts to me. I mean, I watched Bad Covered Ben for 3 years, and even Russ and them. Like, veterans take days off. Aaron is 100 years old and he doesn't. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, right now it's the perfect timing to say, Aaron, just stand there, take some individuals. Yeah. Let's teach these guys just, through osmosis, basically how you go about your business. But number 18 and number, 16, Howard and Aller, you guys are going to get the most of these works. Mason doesn't need this stuff in OTAs. He doesn't need this. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, Brian Angelico, the new offensive coordinator, he said today they're going to have a plan. They do have a plan. I think the OTAs are that's the simple part, right? Like, Aaron isn't going to take many reps. To me, the interesting part, and every single practice is going to be open in Latrobe. What happens once you get to Latrobe, knowing how much Aaron Rodgers likes to practice? I mean, it would make sense to dial him back, to save his legs, to save his arm, if you can convince him of that. But that's not his nature, as Mark points out. He loves to practice, but maybe Mike McCarthy can convince him, hey, you're 42, going on 43. We're going to give these reps to the younger guys every third day, every fourth day. And maybe Aaron is receptive to that.
I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, not either. Sashan? I don't know. How big is the percent chance that the Steelers are going to try and get a quarterback in round 1 of 2027 after the Aller pick? I personally think still very high.
Yes, do it. Do it. I mean, you've been 5, what's this now? Well, it's the first time quarterbacks started back-to-back seasons since Ben in 01 and 02. They brought you in to find a quarterback, and if you got to go for another one, and if you like whoever it is, Lenore Sellers, whoever it could possibly be, go for it. Even if you do like Will Howard or Drew Aller, until you get that right, you're going to be a team that's not going to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Mike McCarthy knows. I think Omar Khan, because he's been around longer, he's been in this situation post-Ben longer. He knows until they find a quarterback, like a true franchise quarterback, they are not going to be a true Super Bowl contender. So until they know they have that guy, yeah, I think you just keep taking bites at the apple, so to speak.
He said it after the draft. He said it was when asked about Drew Aller, the response was, no, it's just about the process. We just need to add quarterbacks. He let us know that they're just going to continue that. Now, is it going to be a top 10 pick? I don't know about that one. We'll all find that out as these guys progress, but I would not be shocked even if they pick at 20, their first round pick is a quarterback, as long as somebody's there. Also, it's Sasha, which I knew that because they come into, they've explained it to me before. So appreciate you. My bad on that one. Renegade Minka. Pittman Jr. alluded to more passing offense. Can Aaron's arm sustain that type of workload?
He's
look,
got
the
a
one thing. That's what I'm saying.
Thing.
The one thing about Aaron Rodgers that shocked me the most is that man is in great shape for a 42-year-old. It's kind of crazy compared to Ben, who was 37, 38 when he retired. I'm two totally different. That's what I thought Aaron came in as, is just Ben, and he wasn't. He came in as a very fit, in shape quarterback. So I have no issues. I have no concerns about that.
Yeah, we sit here and say that he's lost this and he's not mobile. I think he's mobile enough, especially for a 43. You saw last year. Remember the Detroit game? He outraced somebody to the sideline, right? I mean, maybe it's not consistent, but he's not going to go 80 yards like Jaden Daniels. But I think he still has a decent set of wheels on him. And he hasn't been hurt that much. Take away the Achilles, he hasn't been really hurt over his career that much, unlike Ben, who's, probably needs 2 knees before you know it. So,
yeah.
Having said that, I think a lot of people do remember that Houston game in the playoffs. He had first down yardage in front of him. He kind of just threw it out of bounds, or he ran out of bounds. I mean, he is mobile enough, but he is no longer mobile. Let's put it that way.
And didn't we complain about Russell Wilson going for it the year before in Baltimore and fumbling? So, you remember that one?
Yeah.
Why didn't he just slide?
Result was the same. So
it was more about him going to the middle of the field rather than sliding, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was. I'm missing, I think on the same play, Calvin was wide open, maybe. So yeah. There were lots of issues. Maddie, what are your thoughts on Roman Wilson? I mean, he got a pass yesterday, and look, was I a little bit convinced that Aaron didn't know that he changed numbers and he thought it was Kenny G out there? Yes, but he still caught a pass. I mean, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on
I'm not falling for this trap anymore. The past 2 years, the guy's a star in practice. Absolutely. I'm like, wow, this guy's good. I remember before the Colts game, his rookie year, he was warming up, then he was inactive. I'm like, look at this guy out here. He got some talent. And he gets in the game, you're like, what the heck's going on here? So I'm not buying anything I see until he produces in the game. He has the talent, but he has to translate that into the game, and he just hasn't done that consistently at all.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when you're in year 2, it's a little bit of a red flag when your quarterback is calling you out for, not being professional enough and not being on point in the playbook. That's that kind of sounds the alarm bells for me, because it just maybe speaks to your ability to pick up the playbook or your practice habits. So I'm kind of in Mark's boat. I need him to prove it to me. I need to see it before I can believe it.
Plus, the quarterback's coming back, and
Yeah.
if I'm under the correct, if I was told the correct stuff, maybe that quarterback has something to do with Roman not playing late in the season.
Eventually, he's going to realize that he's now number 14 and not number 10, which would explain why Caden Weegan got 0 snaps on Monday. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. ND Joe, we've been institutionalized as a fan base for the last 19 years of what to expect from our beloved team. Between these 3 great minds in front of us, how long does it take to shake it off? I mean, I'll ask you guys, because again, I said it during the show. Look, Mike Tomlin made it very known. Even if he didn't make it known publicly, he made it known to us that he loved playing the media game. It was his favorite thing to do. Is McCarthy different? Does he just say it as it is, and then we just have to slowly adjust to just taking it as it comes? And maybe he's not going to tell us all, but at least he's going to tell us what's on his mind.
I think we've been pleasantly surprised. I don't know about you guys, but pretty much what he said has been the truth. He hasn't really blown smoke up anybody's, I don't think so. Unlike maybe the other coach. So I think he is being kind of honest with all of us now. As for the difference of being institutionalized, I don't know about you guys. When they started practice yesterday and they're like having the bullhorn out there and different I'm like, I know where to go with Tom. I don't know where to do. What's this all about? So I thought that was interesting after nearly 20 years of just how the practices roll. It's just totally different. I'm like, why does he have a bullhorn? What is this all about?
Yeah, I hope the Steelers and McCarthy, don't take me to task for this, but it's almost a very collegiate atmosphere. Like what Mark said with the bullhorn, like if you guys noticed when they were stretching on the field, only the strength coaches are out there. On the bullhorn, they said, "Okay, coaches take the field." I was like, "What?" The coaches came jogging onto the field like they were. It was their cue to come onto the field. I mean, it's a totally different atmosphere. I think you could say, Mike was kind of laid back, and that's what happens when you're in a job for 2 decades. But I think McCarthy is going to be different. And hey, maybe being a little bit more, buttoned up. Maybe that's something that this team needed. I don't know.
I agree. Nate, how does the safety roles play out this year? Will we see Jalen back there with Deshaun and Brisker?
I'm going to quote Patrick Graham here. What are you guys talking about? It's May. I mean, what do you say today? Something about this. Somebody was asking about hip hop or something. He goes, "What are you guys talking about here?" It's like, well, what I'm saying is I think it's a little bit too early to make any determination about that. I just know that they got Brisker, who can do a little bit of everything. And if Elliott returns to his form before his injury, they probably got their best safety crew since probably Clark and Polamalu, maybe.
It has to be up there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think this is really a good question, because if you go back to the lead up to the draft, we were talking about the Steelers possibly taking Dylan Thieneman or Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I mean, there's and I think it was inside that building too. They thought, hey, maybe we'll take a safety high, and maybe that'll help their defense. And they didn't take a safety until Robert Spears-Jennings in the 7th round. So I think we do have to talk about Brisker and Elliott and Jalen Ramsey. And Mark's right. We're not going to find out until September how they're going to deploy Jalen Ramsey. But you look at Brisker's resume, bunch of starts with the Bears. You look at Elliott and his production since he came to the Steelers. I know he wasn't consistent in his previous stuff, but he kind of found his game with the Steelers. So if all that comes together and fits, I agree. This could be a really good group of safeties.
Yeah, I agree. KGK is for life. Thoughts on the NFL announcing more international games, including Japan? First off, I would go to Japan. Second off, my wife told me yesterday that she's already planning a Paris trip, and I'm not going to the Paris game. So I hope she has a great time, truthfully.
It's coming from a guy that just came back from Italy.
Yeah, well, look at when we do Italy and you do Dublin in a year, you can't go to Paris. Okay, eventually you run out of stamps on the visa. You can't, or the passport. You just can't do it.
You know, I'm all for the international games as long as I don't have to go to them. I don't want to go to Japan. I don't want to go to Paris. I can't handle those flights. I would like to go to Australia, but I would need one of those seats that turn into a bed or something, something like that. But it's going to get to the point where everybody's playing overseas once a year. So there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen. I would like to see the Steelers play in Mexico City this year rather than Paris, but I think they did the Mexican fans a little dirty there, but that's just me.
Aren't there issues with that stadium down there, though? That's the reason.
They're playing a game there. I think the 49ers are playing there this year.
Yeah. I mean,
49ers are playing in Australia.
Well, somebody's playing in Mexico City. I know that.
Hey, listen, the reason they went from 4 to 6. I mean, it used to be just, hey, Jacksonville, you can't fill your home stadium. We're going to throw you over to London. Now they're doing it. They figured out how much of a moneymaker it is. And that's what it's all about. It's about making money. And it's going from 8 to 10. It's going to go from 10 to 12, 12 to 14. Mark is right. I think every season, pretty much, every team is going to have an international game here pretty soon.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, why are we so quick to blame coaching and no one wants to talk about Colbert's shameful drafting job in the final 5 to 10 years as a GM? I think 5 to 10 is a stretch, but I do think the Steelers drafts over the last couple of years before Omar were not great. That being said, I love Kevin Colbert. I think he's a Hall of Fame general manager. The dude was phenomenal. I do think you have to put some blame on some rough draft classes for a little while.
Well, I mean, what do they always tell us for years and years and years? We draft as a team, as an organization. So if that's true, I'm not putting it all on Colbert. The head coach, the owner, to a degree, everybody else, the scouting department, don't they have as much blame as everybody else? I mean, I'd have to go back and look at those years. I'm sure they weren't great. I mean, the Pickett year was obviously awful, but they did get Watt. I think they did get Highsmith. There's a couple, but you on the flip side of that, look at Omar's previous first 3. They're looking pretty stellar, considering. So maybe that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to 100% blame Kevin Colbert, but like Kendrick Green, bad pick. Chase Claypool turned out to be a terrible pick. That was your first pick that year because, they made that trade. They just had too many misses. So, yeah, whether it was Kevin and Mike combined, all the scouts combined, if you guys, I mean, everyone knows this. When Omar came on board, I mean, the scouting staff was like 90% different now, guys. I mean, it's a totally new scouting staff. I mean, there were guys with 25, 30-year tenures who they kicked to the curb. And, good scouts, good people, but Omar wanted his guys. He had a vision for what he thought, his front office was going to be. So, I mean, we got to see how this plays out with the quarterback, but they can never find a quarterback. Omar's built a really nice foundation here for the first couple of years. And I know we're not answering this question. We're talking about Omar, but just to spin it forward, I think he's been really, really solid here for the first couple of years.
No, I agree. And I think that's where it goes is like Kevin Colbert had some really good drafts too, but it's the collective of it. And I think just like you could bring the Tomlin thing up too. Like, people say like Tomlin wasn't a bad coach at the end. I mean, I think it's impossible to say that he was, but sometimes things just run their course. That's what he said. That's why he left. And, sometimes it just becomes, you need some change you need a new set of eyes to see some things, to see them differently. And you improve because of it. Sasha, do you believe we will see a running back 1 and a running back 2, or do you think it's going to be more of a 1A and 1B? I'm a big Dowdle fan myself, but I do like Warren a bit as well.
I think it's going to be 1A. What do you think, about 55% to 45%, 60-40? There's going to be a guy that obviously starts. I would imagine Dowdle will be that guy right now just because he's had history with McCarthy. But, I mean, let's not sleep on Jaylen Warren. I know he hasn't averaged a ton of yards per carry, but you saw what he did in that Vikings game last year when he just got a little dump pass and just ran people over and went 70 yards or whatever. Very talented individual, but I don't know how they're going to break it up. I would assume that it's going to be close to even, if I would guess right now.
Yeah, I think in the end, the snaps are going to be even. And I know some people disagree with me on this, but I think, people think, oh, they lost Kenny Gainwell, team MVP. They're not going to have that aspect of their offense. Mark mentioned it. Jaylen Warren is an excellent third down back. Yes. He's your best pass protector. Kenny was a good pass protector. Jaylen is the better pass protector. And if you give him as many opportunities as Kenny Gainwell, he could be really productive as a receiver too. So I do think you're going to see the roles flip back to what Jaylen was earlier in his career. I think he's going to be out there more in those passing situations. But listen, he proved last year he can look at the Detroit game. Those long touchdown runs. He proved, he could be an every down back, as well. So I think they're going to find opportunities to play those guys in all situations. But if I had to guess right now, I think Jaylen Warren is going to be out there more on third down than Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, me too. I personally, and this is nothing against Kenny G. I think the Steelers running back duo of Jaylen and Rico is better than Jaylen and Kenny G, just because they complement each other. That's what they tried to make Jaylen what they're going to do with Rico this year. And you wasted what Jaylen's best at, which is being a third down back, being a receiving back, being a guy who could make explosive plays, while Rico's a guy that, he's a massive dude in the backfield. And now to have that, I think it complements each other way more. Renegade Minka, does Aaron's contract again affect Joey Porter Jr. or Nick Herbig being signed?
You know what? It's a soft cap for a reason. You can manipulate money any way you want. I still don't think they do anything with Herbig, your twin. I think you just wait till next year and just see how it plays out. And if you got to franchise him with the likelihood of signing him long-term, do that. But you got to do Joey Porter Jr. You got to get that done. If there's only one left on the board here, it has to be him. I would hate to lose somebody like Darnell Washington, but it's only so much money to go around. But they're smart enough to be able, between Omar and Cole Marcoux, to be able to manipulate the salary cap, whether it's restructuring deals or early money, money that's early than you easy money early than more the money late. They can figure it out. I wouldn't anticipate all of them getting signed. You're not getting Benton, Washington, and JPJ, but I would say 2 possibly, right?
Yeah, I think Joey's the number one guy, but I think that's going to take some time just because it's going to be a lot of money. I think it could be upward of $20 million a year or so. And if people are thinking, oh, he grew up here, his dad played here, he's going to get a hometown discount. No, I remember Joey Porter having big beef with the Steelers because they wouldn't sign him to a new deal, and he had to finish his career elsewhere. So there's not going to be any hometown discount there. But I do think they find a way to get Joey done. And just to touch on Herbig, why would he sign right now? He's got a chance to make a lot of bank if he hits free agency for his sake, for looking, if I'm his agent, I'm saying just play this out, continue to put up the numbers, and, we'll make a lot of money come next March.
I agree. All right, let's finish it off here with Sasha and the most important question we've got. I've watched a lot of Kaboom and Noah, but I would like to know, what's Ray's favorite pizza topping?
Oh man. Okay. I'm a big green pepper and black olive guy.
That's
what?
Get him off the screen.
No. But if I'm going to go meat, I go with the crumbly sausage. I don't go with the big fat pieces of sausage. It's got to be the crumbly sausage, a la Fiore's.
Nothing's worse than the old little ball sausage, like you find it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's the worst.
Yeah, I agree.
Peppers?
Yeah, you were losing me there in the first half there. When somebody asks your favorite pizza topping and you start with green peppers.
Now I'm craving that crumbly sausage, man. It's been
I still got to give one to freaking Christian Kuntz. He
Kuntz,
got
yeah,
on me the other day. He
You're
goes,
going
"What's my
back in your bets.
I got to give him a Fiore's pizza because I lost a bet."
Well, if you got extra, let me know. I'll be there. I'll be there. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to the first episode of Steelers Collective with me, Mark Kaboly, and Ray Fittipaldo. Before you head out of here, hit that like and subscribe button. We're live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And with that said, enjoy a beautiful night in the Berg, and we'll be back next week.